Welcome! Today we are diving into the absolutely incredible story of the race for speed on rails. It's a high-stakes saga of pure engineering genius, fierce national pride, and this relentless human quest to completely conquer physics.
So let's just start with a number that kind of breaks your brain. 574.8 kilometers per hour. That is the world record for a train on conventional rails. Now, to put that into perspective for you, a passenger jet takes off at around 300 kilometers per hour. This train is moving at nearly double that speed while it's still on the ground. Just think about that for a second.
So, the big question is, how on earth did we get here? How did we go from those old puffing steam engines to what are basically land-based rockets? Well, it's a story of breaking barriers, not just technological ones, but mental ones too. Okay, so let's rewind. Our story really kicks off in the 1950s. Steam locomotives, they were magnificent, but they had hit a wall, a physical limit. To go any faster than about 140 kilometers per hour, the furnaces had to be impossibly hot. It became pretty clear the future wasn't about burning coal, it was all about electricity. Now, for this whole electric thing to work, you need two key pieces of technology. First, you've got the catenary. That's the overhead wire just humming with 1,500 volts of power. And second, you've got the pantograph, this 200-kilogram bow on top of the train that collects all that juice. It was a revolutionary design, and get this, it's so good that it's still used on the most modern trains today. But you know engineers, as soon as they started pushing the limits, they slammed right into a huge problem. One that threatened to slice their brand new technology right in half. Literally. You see, the problem was just simple physics. If the pantograph hit the exact same spot on that copper wire over and over again at high speed, it would act just like a saw slicing right through the bow. But the solution was so simple and elegant. Just lay the overhead wire in a zigzag pattern. That way, the contact point glides smoothly across the entire width of the bow, spreading out all that wear and tear. Problem solved. So with that figured out, the stage was set for the legendary 1955 record attempt. You had two rival manufacturers, Alstom and Schneider, pitted against each other, and their brand new electric locomotives were about to be pushed way, way beyond what anyone thought was even possible. The raw power was just immense. On the very first day of testing, the catenary wire and the pantograph were creating so many sparks that electricity was just arcing everywhere. It was chaos. The bow literally began to melt under the strain, forcing the crew to make an emergency stop. They were in completely uncharted territory. Okay, but here's where the story gets really fascinating. Officially, both trains hit exactly 331 kilometers per hour, a perfect tie. But that was a bit of a white lie. The truth is, the first train, the CC, was stopped early at 320 for safety. The second train, the BB, was the real record holder. But with these massive state contracts on the line, announcing a tie kept both manufacturers happy and, protected some colossal financial stakes. Now, that 1955 record was a huge triumph. But just a few years later, this bizarre new invention appears, and it threatened to make the entire concept of wheels on a track completely obsolete. Meet the aerotrain. Honestly, this thing was less a train and more a horizontal rocket. It had no wheels. No, instead, it hovered on a cushion of air, propelled by a massive turbine on the back, and ran along this single, inverted T-shaped concrete rail. By pretty much eliminating friction, it was designed for one thing and one thing only: pure, unadulterated speed. And in 1969, boy, did it deliver. The aerotrain hit a staggering 422 kilometers per hour. It didn't just break the old record, it absolutely shattered it by almost 100 kilometers an hour. You can just imagine the pressure this put on conventional rail engineers. They had to innovate, and they had to do it fast. And that innovation was the TGV. Its evolution is so cool. It actually started out with a turbine, directly inspired by the aerotrain, but then the 1973 oil crisis hit, making that design way too expensive. So they had to pivot back to electricity. Next, to slice through the air, it got this sleek new nose, designed by the same guy who styled Porsches. But the real game changer was articulating the cars, placing the wheels between them. This turned the whole train into a single stable tube, making it incredibly resistant to derailment. So, with the TGV ready to go, the stage was set for the next great race, the battle to break the mythical 500-kilometer-per-hour barrier. And this contest quickly became a matter of national pride, especially between France and Germany.
First, in 1981, the French TGV set a new record of 380 kilometers per hour. They were on top of the world. But then, 7 years later, the German icy train snatched the title, clocking in at 406. And for the French engineers, oh, this was a huge blow to their national pride. The goal wasn't just to reclaim the record anymore. It was to absolutely crush it. Now, pushing past 500 kilometers per hour meant re-engineering almost everything. They put these rubber membranes between the cars to create one perfectly smooth tube. They added metal shields on the wheels to control the chaotic airflow underneath. They even had to nearly double the tension in the overhead wire just to keep it from being ripped away by the sheer force of the pantograph. And on May 18th, 1990, it all paid off. The TGV didn't just break the 500 km per hour barrier, it absolutely smashed it, setting a new world record of 515.4 kilometers per hour. The title was officially back in France. But you know how engineers are. They conquer one mountain, and they're immediately looking for the next, even bigger one. The new project was codenamed V150, as in 150 meters per second. This was going to require a brand new super train, the AGV, which had this revolutionary design. Instead of just engines at the front and back, it had powerful motors on every single set of wheels. I mean, you can really feel the acceleration of progress here. We go from 331 in 1955 to over 515 by 1990. And then the final massive leap came on April 3rd, 27, when the V150 project set the current world record, an unbelievable 574.8 kilometers per hour. Now, to put that record in perspective, you might be thinking, hey, wait a minute, didn't Japan's magnetic levitation train, the maglev, go faster? And you'd be right, it hit 603, but that's an entirely different technology. It's really important to remember that the TGV holds the record for a conventional train on conventional rails, the same kind of rails that have been around for centuries. So why haven't we gone even faster? Why not push for 600, 700? Well, the simple answer, as it often is, comes down to economics. Pushing for more speed just has diminishing returns. Engineers estimate that going from, say, 320 to 380 kilometers per hour in commercial service would nearly quadruple the manufacturing and maintenance costs. It just gets incredibly expensive. So this leaves us with two potential paths forward. On one hand, you have the evolution of the TGV, a proven technology that could probably reach 700 kilometers per hour, but at an enormous cost. On the other hand, you have a revolution, like the Hyperloop, this conceptual system of pods and vacuum tubes that could theoretically top 1,000 kilometers per hour, but faces even bigger cost and technical hurdles. It's funny, back in the 1970s, at the height of that aerotrain craze, a French minister famously declared, "The train is finished." He couldn't have been more wrong. Time and time again, through just relentless innovation, conventional rail has defied every prediction of its demise. Which leaves us with one final fascinating question. After more than half a century of shattering records, is the next great leap in human speed going to happen on a familiar rail or inside some kind of futuristic tube? The race, it seems, is far from over.